Broome, in the far north of Western Australia, is a small, remote port town built on the shores of Roebuck Bay. But its remoteness offered no protection when the world descended into the turmoil of the Second World War. And at the northern frontier, the Kimberley and Broome itself would fall victim to its bloody consequences.
March the 3rd, 1942 was a very significant date in the life of Broome. About 9 o'clock, 9 Zeros, escorted by a reconnaissance aircraft, rounded Ganthium Point and swung into the bay.
There, in front of them, sat 15 flying boats on anchor, each with 30 or more Dutch refugees on board, mostly made up of women and children fleeing the war. Dutch pilot Gus Winkle had just landed at the Broome airport, unaware of the dramatic turn of events about to unfold.
So I landed there and I was taxiing to the place to have it refueled. And after a 7.5-hour flight from Bandung to Broome, I was standing in the doorway looking at the distance, and I was just having a stretch, and I saw some steps on the horizon. And I said to the fellow who was going to refuel the plane, I said, "Listen, is the RAF flying today?" And he said, "No." So I said, "Well, sound the alarm, jets are coming."
The Japanese Zeros opened fire on the flying boats, and with no Allied resistance to protect them, they were destroyed. Then they turned their attention to the airstrip, strafing planes left stranded in the surprise attack.
It was all over very quickly, and it was a scene of absolute mayhem and destruction. Officially, 88 human lives were lost. Our research has indicated it's probably closer to 120. Some are known to us by name and some are not. Some bodies were recovered, others were not.
A lot of people don't even know that Australia was attacked during the Second World War, that Australia was part of the forces. This was an enormous tragedy.
It was to be Broome's darkest day, a massacre that lasted an hour but lingers on today in the mudflats of Roebuck Bay.
Since 1942, the aircraft have been in the bay. Most of them are in the deep channel, so they never get exposed by the tide. The 6 do get exposed depending on the depth of the tide. In 1972, 2 engines were retrieved from the bay by the Garston brothers and Craig Kennedy.
One of the engines now stands at the Broome airport. The other was gifted to the Broome Museum.
Its historical value is second to none. They certainly don't make equipment like that anymore. It's part of Australia's history. What happened in past years gone by, it's just very valuable to preserve.
However, over 50 years of being exposed to the harsh conditions of the Kimberley's climate has seen the engine deteriorate.
We've already got a box of bits here where things have fallen off, and there's significant cracking in the metal.
So in early 2022, a restoration project was launched to prolong the life of this unique link to our past.
I've just been amazed to see the level of detail that's been brought back. Original stamped numbers, serial numbers that have been revealed. Tiniest little wires there. And there's even a little bit of leather in here. It's, remarkable given it's been immersed for 30 years.
The planes themselves lay in Roebuck Bay, and that's quite far away for people, and sometimes they're unrecognizable, so you need context. And that's where a museum is for. And this propeller and this engine is very recognizable, isn't it? You see that this is from a plane, and because you can see it so well, you can explain the story about the attack on the 3rd of March 1942, and that's very important.
We are custodians of the object, so it's our duty to care for it and to keep it in a condition that is conserved for future generations to see.
With the restoration process now complete, the Dornier engine once again stands proudly on display at the Broome Museum, a link to the past that shall not be forgotten.